Hi everyone, it's Adrian Leah. This is an Archangel Michael reading. I'm also flowing through the zodiac signs, so the next one up is Virgo. Of course, you can watch this if you're another sign. I felt that this would be an important reading to do at this time based off of the energy and the visions that I was getting yesterday and up till today. I was getting ready to do this video too, and I was glad that there was some joy with it because with the energy that I was feeling when I was anticipating the reading, I felt before doing the reading that um, someone or people felt fearful, specifically in a way where they were faced or confronted with something that they've never done before and they froze. So it was a scene with a person, and then it was like being confronted by a demon, and then it was about to come towards them, and then they had a, a gun, but then they froze because they've never done it before, and then what they were faced with, and there was another person that ended up using their gun instead. Also, getting another scene as if someone was turning and looking, and it was like they're here. That type of energy. So, luckily, when I was, getting ready to do this video, I was feeling that there was hope or almost like an excitement. Um, so, I'm happy that uh, those who have um, watch the videos are um, given some type of hope and support in that regard. So I have a couple of decks that I'll be using. The first one is the Slavic Legends Tarot, and I have the Watcher Angel Tarot, Healing with the Angels Oracle cards. I'll read from the guidebook their message, and then I'll give my interpretation too. The Mysteries of Mary Tarot, and then the Celestial Frequencies Oracle cards. And there was also remorse too, as if someone was thinking about their past, as if, especially if it involved maybe another person too, that I should have done this with them or I shouldn't have done this with them, and I felt like situation or the situation could have gone better or I could have handled it better. It was a lot of like I should have done this or I should have done that, and I'm remorseful. There's that type of energy. I wouldn't linger too much on that because I feel like in the grand scheme of things, I feel like overall the person that this is towards, it feels like they understand more than maybe what you're thinking about. The first card that got turned over is the balance card in here. This is a specific message I'm feeling like, especially those who are in this area and um, are in circumstances that they weren't expecting and that are unfortunate. Um, with the balance card, I also feel like it could associate with Libra energy too, and we're gonna treat everyone like on individual basis. It's on an individual basis, but um, I'm also getting playing with your opponent's chess pieces now, and as if your energy, as I have brought up in on my channel before, would be the rabbit energy or the rabbit medicine, and then they're using the energy of a bear. So, with the mentality, I suppose, of a Libra too, it is looking at the broader perspectives, the Libras, and I know this is going into Virgo, but with the balance card being associated with Libra too and the circumstances, um, they tend to think of plans A through Z. And if this doesn't work, then they have the other plans to go by. So, definitely a good time to be quick witted, kind of speedy, alert, um, like the rabbit medicine, and the odds would be in your favor. And with playing with your opponent's chess pieces, knowing the moves that they have or before they make it. I just love the backs of these cards. And I looked at the bottom of the deck. I've been doing that in some videos, and it's success. So that's definitely great for this reading. Um, and as I said in other readings too, that even if you have to go and gonna do things that you don't want to do in this, and also there's abiding by your moral compass as well. And it also feels as if to not worry because your guides and um, the people that help support you, they're gonna dust you off and make you shiny again. And the bottom of the success card has freedom, healing. This is a really good card to have with this. And I would say that in the midst of quietness and maybe the rainy days, for some people might be dreary days. I don't mind rainy days, but it just seems like there is an optimism, which I feel that is such an important thing to have during this time. And this deck wants to come out too. So this is good. The reversed is the Three of Swords. I'm getting that there's something to look forward to, and then the other upright ones are the Ace of Cups. You got a couple of aces here. So, inspiration, the Ace of Swords, conquest, and then the Ten of Cups. It feels like, well, at the bottom of the card says fulfillment. This feels like almost like a battle one. And if it's not physically, it's definitely on a mental and emotional level. Because there's the Ace of Swords and then the Ace of Cups. Because in your head, like with the Ace of Swords linking to the mind, um, it kind of feels like it's saying like a win is win. So it's definitely nice. And there seems like a faithfulness too with the dog there at the bottom of the deck or bottom of the card. Something is forged, something almost feels set in stone. It almost feels a little bit historical too, or timelessness, as we know with the angels in general. There's different types of angels. We're going specifically with Archangel Michael, and more in the grand scheme of things, and maybe biblical references too, because they sometimes differ in a lot of ways from what you're normally seeing or reading about in the modern day. Um, Definitely tends to be, sorry, for this reading specifically, because I haven't been getting this for the other readings, is as if my mind is going thorn, as if, when something approaches you and then you, like when a rabbit or an animal sees headlights and then they kind of freeze. That's kind of how it feels like with this energy. Um, and then with angels, being able to see further in their minds and the way that they communicate or the way that they perform their acts, because they do have a sense of free will, that they're able to stay calm in these types of environments, in these types of situations. And that's something that's important to take on when you're working with Archangel Michael. Also, being called on duties that are on the grander scheme of things that have to do with humanity, and fighting for the overall greater good of what can happen and what can be. So, as I have said before, if you're in a room of chaos, make sure that your mind remains calm and you're able to make sound decisions, clear decisions. So, I would say, and throughout this reading, that Archangel Michael blesses and protects you. When you say that prayer specifically, the Archangel prayer, say it with meaning, say it with feeling. Don't just like mumble the words. Um, Make sure that that also becomes like a maybe a battle cry, or like to help you become that force of nature. And there is a power with those words too. And if it's not that prayer, if you have another type of spirituality that feels like linked to you, definitely go for that too if it feels right and it feels natural. It has to feel like a natural flow, as if when we think about maybe um, alternative medicine and complementary alternative medicine, which is a umbrella term for different types of practices. So one of them would be Tai Chi, the flowing of the chi and making sure that it is a consistent and natural flow that you have of this in your body. We need to be more in tune with how we're thinking and how we're feeling and how we're portraying and directing that at this time. Because it's not just having a physical strength, a physical strong stance. You have to be strong in the mind and you have to be strong in the heart. And that's are those are components that help balance you and help keep you grounded at this time, especially in times of chaos. But in someone's mind, it just feels like I'm getting like a battle is won. Like a win is a win. And I'm not going to take that away from anybody. Like if you feel like a win is a win, a win is a win. And like good on you. And it's nice because it doesn't seem like innocence is lost, as if with, again, with what you experience in life, it could make you bitter, but there is like a sense that's still pure, that no matter what has happened, there's this primal sense to have the kindness or exude the energy that you know that is the good part of you that you want to stay. Um, when you go through these things, it doesn't make you bitter. And that has a lasting effect on other people too, because like if you're raising a child to, and your child is soft, and that's not a bad thing. You don't need to necessarily, and again, specific to the circumstance, but overall, to not raise your child to be um to not raise your child to be like cold and bitter, to raise your child so that it they make the world less cold and bitter. um there's a specific story that I feel might be interesting for this reading, that I feel may be helpful or an important message that there's still kindness in the world. So I was working at a place, and then I was in a relationship, and then the relationship abruptly ended. So we were living together and I didn't end up staying there. So I still had mail going there, and I lived in different states. I'm gonna go through this briefly. Um, and I didn't get my mail from him until a long time later, to a point where there was something that I needed to pay, um, that I didn't pay for other states. So different states, they have different things to pay for, and some of them are the same things you have to pay for. So um, my boss gets something that has to do with me about this money, and then there's like already things that are like the late charges on top of that. And this was like over $800. And I was gonna cut the loss. I was like, well, I gotta pay for it. Instead, what ended up happening was that my boss confronted me. And then I was like, yeah, I told her, and she already knew about the situation to begin with too, because it was like this whole thing of me moving house and moving somewhere here and moving somewhere there until I got myself settled in an area. And she said that um that she was going to pay for this and with everything. So it was a lump sum. And then on top of that, she was still going to pay me the money um, that I worked for. So it was basically what I was getting paid, and then on top of that. And she was like, my daughter, they always try to get her with stuff like this too. And it was just one of those things where, especially if you're not expecting it from somebody, especially if there's a person that in your life maybe you haven't talked to for a while, maybe that it's not like you don't expect a lot from them, but maybe their exterior is a little, more blunt. It's a little more, um, maybe like stricter or soldier like or something that makes it not like they're not approachable, but there's a certain way that the certain personality that they have that maybe you wouldn't normally or initially think anything of it. And so it just goes to show like how much can kindness take someone, because it really is contagious, and then it makes you want to pay it forward too and pass on the kindness to somebody else. So I felt like that was an important message to get out too. And I was saying, like, with the innocence, it's the lady and the stag for this. And I was noticing the stag here, and that's why I was talking about the pureness that is still in this world. Um, and there is a strength in that too. And to, like, as a reminder that love is like a superpower too, and that it does go a long way. And especially with maybe people that you encounter, because sometimes, like, you would think, like, it was funny because I had another colleague that I was working with, and she was like telling me that my boss is like, I know I'm really mean to Adrian, but I actually really love and care about her. And I'm just like, yeah, I get it. Because, like, I mean, I got that, because I didn't think anything like that she didn't like me or anything. But I was definitely disciplined because sometimes I felt like, honestly, um, she could have took me by my hair and dragged me to the core of the earth sometimes. So it just goes to show, and again, it's on an individual basis and like um based on how the dynamic is with you and this person, and um sometimes it might not be that type of person, but other times you might feel like that maybe um not on the exterior but deep down, like that, and even maybe on the outer front, that that they're good peoples. So again, to keep that in mind. And there's just so much soft energy that comes from this too. And it really is a little childlike in like amazing because hope isn't lost. When there is like maybe the hope of a child or the energy of a child or excitement or having like a naiveness that a child has. It's such a beautiful thing because it's like their energy isn't tainted by the things that you've seen and done. And maybe during this time when you have seen and done things that like you do during these um heavier times, it's just so amazing how there's still it just feels like there's still hope. So that was the Page of Pentacles 2. You have another Pentacles energy. There is also a faithfulness. I feel like um not only is it a faithfulness to the cause, but it also feels like there's a faithfulness, like there is a link to in the beginning, as I said, there seemed to be some remorse about how things have happened or didn't happen, maybe with a specific person or event because of um, randomly being drafted. And so it just feels like there was a heaviness from that, but still there is a lightness, if that makes sense with the balance card too. Because you even have the Justice card, and as I was saying, it does remind me of Libra energy, and I know this is a Virgo reading technically, and it's also associated with Archangel Michael. So you can take that for what it is for you. But the obstacle card is the Justice card, also linking with Libra. And with that, it's one of the major arcana, and I just split the deck, and it is another major arcana with the Hermit, and that would be an obstacle too on what have we learned from the past and how can we make it better. um how can we perform things in a way where history doesn't repeat itself, and if we can avert that in the slightest, if we can take these wins for what they are and really pull forward and really take the pureness of that energy and use that love as a superpower, and also needing to do other physical things that are necessary to um to take on this victory, because I keep getting that there's just something that is winning here. A lot of pentacle energy coming up. There's another Page of Coins, a Page of Pentacles, and then there's another Knight of Pentacles. Well, another court card, the Knight of Pentacles. It kind of feels like maybe somebody is more independent than what they were before. And some of that involves making your own calls with things, as if maybe you're growing, it could be growing up out of a household still, but then again, you're still part of that household. And then it's also one where it's almost as if, because with the pentacles and with it being the page and essentially learning things and training for these things, it feels like with the Knight of Pentacles, he's given more responsibility, or she's given more responsibility, where she performs things or acts on things on his or her own. Um, and that could be where the tongue twisting is, and the thorn being thorn, and having this type of energy because I wasn't having this energy for other readings. How to overcome the obstacle is an interesting one because we have the Five of Coins, the Five of Pentacles. Now when we think about, we backtrack, but we think about history because maybe we're just gonna have ourselves a history lesson. Um, Before the five is the four, so the Four of Pentacles. I just sorry, I just said it in a weird way, but the Four of Pentacles tends to have a lot of resources. It tends to be somebody that is set for a rainy day. For the Five of Pentacles, it's almost like it you don't have the extra resources or the funds to do this and that. So you're kind of left to your own regard in how you're going to move forward from maybe in investments that were taken suddenly or taken quicker than what you thought that than what was going to happen. So I feel like this is definitely a grace period for you too. That what can you fill up that time and energy and productiveness, like with the coins and the pentacles, and be able to move forward and get back on your feet. Because if you're already a Knight of Coins, a Knight of Pentacles in the beginning of the reading, I don't see it taking a big, I don't see you or the person or the group or community taking a huge hit because as humans, like humanity, we're meant to go through things that life throws at us. We're meant to have these times where we go back to our primal state and somehow we already know what we need to do to survive or to surpass certain things that are a struggle to us that are out of the norm because most naturally it is nice to have the Four of Pentacles, but you can't always stay in the fours because you have a whole cycle of going through the aces through the tens, and the five is the halfway point, and then you go into the sixes, and then before you know it, you're already at 10. So the past, you have another ace too, because in the Watcher Angel Tarot, you had the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Cups, and now you have um another suit. You have the Ace of Pentacles. So this is in your past position. And this energy definitely feels like a journey in itself. And with the Hermit card, it does feel like a wilderness energy, and it is associated with Virgo. Um, and I think it would be safe to say that it's okay at this time to really focus on self because with the Hermit energy, it is going into self and finding those things that make it worthwhile, going through that major journey, because this is the fool's journey of the major arcana. You start with the fool, you end with the fool, because the fool has the numerical value of 0. Um, there is something that is being held with the Ace of Coins, and that starts to become the catalyst in this. You don't have the Ace of Wands in here, but maybe, it'll come up in the future, or maybe it already has come up because maybe you're starting to find that drive or that passion again that the Ace of Wands is associated with. So the other one, you also have the Ace of Cups that comes out again for the overall energy of this reading. And there, it does feel like there wasn't an injury, as if the water that, where you filled the water, because water, it takes shape of something, it fills a space up. It's almost as if the container or the place that the water was in, it cracked, or there's something that was like a levee or something that's meant to help with the flow of water, the way that, so it doesn't over, it doesn't flood somewhere, or it doesn't overrun an area. It does feel like something broke the levee, something cracked it, as if the floodgates were opened. And that's where the balance is trying to come back in. But it almost feels like, so we have these commercials, or back in the day we had these commercials where there's like this really strong tape, and then in the commercial there's like a person in a boat, and they just like taped the hole up. And I'm not saying that it was that easy, or I'm not saying that it was a product that is, that you could stand by. I don't know. I've never tried the product before. But what I will say is that this action, or this crack in the wall, something that almost, that did essentially kind of break, was mended or was looked at before um, things started to flood, or things started to um, get worse than what they did, than what happened. When I was in my first apartment, actually the apartment where I met my best friend, because um, it was like during my college years, and her and her partner helped me survive during my college years. And there were problems with the apartment. So one of the things was that my toilet, one night it was gonna like overflow, and something just woke me up in time for that, so that it wouldn't overflow my, like, the bathroom. So it kind of feels like with the Ace of Cups, it was just like at the nick of time, like just at the right time that something happened. You were able to salvage, or mend something, or to stop something before it got worse, and that's where the win comes from. And lessons learned with the Hermit card and the obstacle card, obstacle position. The future, you have the Knight of Cups. I feel like this will be a decision that is really sentimental, because with the Knight of Cups, it kind of veers a little from the Knight of Coins, because the Knight of Coins is so, there is just such a stance that the Knight of Coins has with something. And I'm not saying the Knight of Cups doesn't have it, but I feel like with the Knight of Coins, maybe the idea, or the heart is like yearning something or someone, and it it's combined with the Knight of Coins and the Knight of Cups. So I feel like the responsibility um is still there, but and I was also saying accountability, but there might be some accountability to maybe the past energy that um what once was, like, there was an interaction with, and then there is one that it kind of feels like actually coming back from that, actually being able to go back where things left off in a way, and a sense of more understanding. There might be going thorn on whether or not to even say anything, because of maybe how long it's been or how it's going to be reciprocated. Like if you really care about a situation or a person, I think it's best to, again, every situation on an individual basis, but to let it be known, to let that energy really flow. And I do see that it'll be more of a consistent energy of where it left off because the further or the future, and I said further future, it's almost as if it's continuing where it gets left off because there's the Eight of Pentacles here, the Eight of Coins. And that just seems like a familiarity with it too, like a startup or a continuation, as if maybe something paused. And to really go with, I feel like it's important, like with the cups, and we all have our own niches, especially with the different suits that are in tarot. With the cups, it does give an importance to really go for some things that make your heart feel in the purest energy or the purest love that it can. There is just such a sentimental softness to it that's so tender that it always yearns for. So, um, if it feels like it would be of not just to have it just like as a benefit, like in that way, but a benefit as if you have this, it makes life genuinely happy and better, and not in a way where it steps on anybody's toes. It just feels like a natural flow, like with like the flow of Tai Chi. Um, and it does take practice, and it is one to really know, like not only with somebody else, but also especially within yourself, of how we know of the things that we feel, the things that we know, the things that we do. It all comes to play in how are we creating that homeostasis, because that is an emphasis like with Eastern medicine, thinking about the body as a whole and balancing it out as a whole instead of doing one ailment at a time. So I'm gonna pull out a couple more cards and then I'll end the reading, but it's definitely there's just such a soft, tender energy that I get from this reading, which is super exciting. And just it is so bold too. Like it's not it's unapologetic because I see with the Queen of Roses another Pentacles card, um, Queen of Pentacles. You have the flowers in the back, and I just love that this deck is so beautifully made. Um, because these are like pictures that were taken of things that were artfully inspired and put together with a lot of loving, tender energy. So, and it's interesting because I brought this up in another video too. There definitely seems like a higher purpose of this, a higher calling of something where it calls for a sanctuary, is something that calls um to really give ode, to give reverence to. It it's as if there is a higher purpose that you're being called to do. If it's not you, it could be the other person that you're associated with. Because this card has Our Lady of Guadalupe. Um, and it's one of those memories too where um, I'm not necessarily religious, but when I was younger, or when I grew up in my childhood at home, when my parents were home, like my mom was home, she would she would pray a lot with her like friends and stuff. So I would have to be a part of that too. And we would just pray the rosary. So the different parts of the rosary, the mysteries that you would read about, and it kind of goes through those motions. And it feels like they're becoming more than just motions. Like I feel like as you get older, the things that maybe you were told to do, but you kind of just did them based off of what you were told or based off of the motions of things. They have more meaning, they have more power. There is more of a stance to it, and depending on what your moral compass is, depending on what you would like to put your energy towards, it does create something that is associated with who you are, or if you there are certain things that you really abide by or things that you really hold close to you. It feels of an utmost importance. And then let's do this one. I'll read the balance card. So this is one of the main cards, the enlightenment mastery. And it does feel uh, like honing into certain areas of your life, being able to continuously learn and train and do, and it becomes a skill that you could move forward with, a skill that it's valuable, that it could be taken into other areas of your life. And then this one, there's something foundational. I just pulled a couple cards. So it's almost as if someone left without, I feel like there was notice, but not the clearest notice. Like there, it just feels like somebody just up and went, and that's the energy that I was feeling in the beginning, and that's where it could have been associated with remorse, and that's what it could have been associated with being confronted with somebody or something that maybe they didn't know how to react to, or they didn't know what to do, and they grew thorn, because the card that popped up was the Seven of Swords. At the bottom, it has betrayal, so I was wondering uh, what other cards to go with that too. And it looks like both parties may have understood the assignment or understood what has happened. And I say assignment because maybe it was preconceived and maybe it was something that they already knew, but it also on a higher note of it being maybe if you believe in soul contracts, and maybe this was something that both souls knew that was going to happen and being able to go with the lesson of that. So I really have a strong feeling that that's what it is too, because there's such an interaction. There is just such a dynamic between these two energies that it almost seems like the bond between inseparable polarities that you get with um, different charges. And going back to the Six of Swords, as I said earlier, there was the Eight of Coins, going almost as if there's a familiarity there, and going back to something that you know, or something that was put on pause. So there's a passage. There does seem to be an opening for that too. because maybe both parties needed to go through a path, and then it opened up something else. Like once they had that enlightenment from the enlightenment mastery card, and then from there, I feel like there will be smoother sailing. So you have the seven of it goes back to the six, so I'm feeling like it once it moves forward, um, the hard parts were already addressed, as if you went through the hard parts, which is the seven of swords, and now you can move forward with the six of swords too, and then address it and move forward to finishing that cycle too, and cycles, um, seeing to make sure that the same things don't happen again that are the most um, fortunate outcomes. Because it has to do with the Queen of Pentacles in here. I am getting that because I didn't get another Queen of Pentacles, but I did get other Pentacle court cards. I feel like this is linked with the Justice card too. I feel like the Queen of Pentacles is a part of the Justice. As I was saying, a win is a win. Um, and honestly, you can take and run with it. Take it and run with it. And it ends up being with addressing those things, those uncomfortable situations, those things that maybe we're short of in other dynamics, because it feels like maybe sometimes when certain things pop up in relationships and not knowing how to handle things, that the relationship would just like stop there. With this, it kind of feels like it keeps going. Like there's something that there's like a lineage of it. And honestly, that was, I'm not going to go so deeply into it, but I was also feeling ancestral energy too of that, as if they were peeping at this card, and it's the Ten of Pentacles, prosperity, and could also link to lineage, ancestral ties, and just because you were associated with maybe certain energies in the past does not really make you who you are. You're going to become the person that you are, and again, being on an individual basis. I'm going to read the Oracle card, um, meaning for balance. And especially with the Knight of Coins, as I was saying, it feels like there is more of an independence, as if you're starting to make your own calls and doing the things that you do. And there might be something where it goes a little ways away, but still knowing that that it's okay to be yourself too. So the card balance. Has your schedule been lopsided lately? Be sure to balance your time between work, play, spirituality, exercise, and relationships. The angels know that you're busy with many earthly demands on your time. They want to help you with your responsibilities through the process of balance. Whenever your schedules become disproportionate or energy drops, lowered energy creates the illusion that there isn't enough time in the day, so a vicious cycle of time limitation ensues. Your angels ask you to add regular doses of meditation, exercise, and play to your days. They know that the balancing your life between work, play, spirituality, exercise, and relationships helps you grow and feel joy. If you feel overwhelmed by your responsibilities, don't hesitate to ask God and ask angels to lift your burden. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.